The views and opinions expressed on this podcast is not a direct reflection of the host and his guest's current or previous employers. The topics and hot takes discussed are meant to create conversations while offering a different perspective to current issues in the strength and conditioning industry. The opinions shared on this podcast are not meant to demean or offend anyone. However, as my grandfather used to say, a hit dog will holler. Thank you and enjoy the show. This podcast is sponsored by Simply Faster. Simply Faster is an educational resource and an open platform for coaches to share best practices and firsthand insights while providing peerless technology, equipment, and service.
Hey, what's up, guys? Coach Howard Jackson. We're over here at Wagner High School, San Antonio, Texas. We'll take a quick tour of the weight room here. So we have 12 racks here, and each rack is equipped with a barbell, additional barbell, also bands. So we have green, red, black, orange, as well as purple. Each band ranges in resistance from 25 to about 100 pounds. I love using those on these band attachments that we have on our dynamic days. Also here, we have these rollers where we do our Nordic drops on. We also do some single leg Bulgarian stings. And the kids just love it because it's a lot of stability, a lot of core things that's involved. Each rack also has their own set of clips for the bar, as well as any auxiliary things that we do. One of the main things that I love to utilize also is the landmine. We utilize these every day for rows, push press. We do also some side lunges, a lot of variety of things. Over here on this side, where we have our half racks, this is where we keep our trap bars. Now, we don't actually use these here, but we take them down here to where our cable's at, so we do our trap bar jumps, do our trap bar power shrugs. We have to start doing rows with them also. The other beautiful thing that I love is these yoke bars, safety squat bars here. We just started using these. I've been here 2 years now, or a year and a half, and this year was the first time we really started incorporating them, and the kids like them because now they don't realize this bar weighs 65 pounds. So if I tell them put 315 on, well, they put 315, they're actually doing 335. And, you know, it's beautiful because they're like, hey, you just surpassed whatever number that you thought you were lifting. The thing that I incorporated while I was here is also utilizing these little magnetic clips. So we utilize a card every single day we come to a workout. So I'll program the kids' weight based off of whatever the lift is for that day. So the percentage could be range anywhere from 50 all the way to 95%. And it'll have their max as well as the whatever number they're lifting for that day, as well as the number of reps. So one of the things that I'm big on is space. We do cleans here we actually do cleans right now in a 4-day-week workout. We do them every single day, a variation of it. So one of the things that we're doing right now is adjusting the racks to get a little bit more space. So like right here, this part of the platform is moved that way. If you come over here, this one is a little bit closer. And so really what that does is if we're doing cleans here, if somebody fails a lift, they can fall back without necessarily hitting themselves against this wall. We don't want a kid, hitting their head, having a concussion, or going home, because of a safety concern. Also, each one of these racks has these power blocks. They range anywhere from 5 to 90 pounds. The thing that I love is also being able to have the pad. So if we're doing things on the ground, whether it be a single leg squat, they know the depth that I need to get them to. And the kids love them because these can be moved. And I love that because now we don't have to put them on the floor. So that concludes the tour of our facility. We have the 12 racks here. Sometimes it gets a little crowded because we do have some big groups that come in, but this works for us. Our kids love it. We have a great rotation and flow of things, and it's been working.
Okay, cool.
All right, everybody. I want to welcome everyone to season 1, episode 2 of The Croc Show. I'm here today with another special guest, somebody that I currently work with in the district. As always, I'm going to let this young man introduce himself, tell you a little bit about himself and, where he's been, what he's currently doing. So everybody, Coach Howard Jackson, go ahead, introduce yourself to the people. Tell us anything that we need to know.
Cool.
Well, man, appreciate you having me on, man. Well, I'm over here at Wagner High School, going into my second year as a S&C coach. I've been doing this now for 9 years. I spent 7 years over at San Antonio Christian School in the private sector, and transitioning to the public sector was a little bit different because over here it's definitely very competitive. Kids are a lot more intense. The coaches are definitely more intense, and it's a culture change. It's definitely a culture change.
Yeah, for sure. So, you said you were transferring from the private sector. I feel like one of the misconceptions with private school kids is that they're rich, spoiled, entitled, whatever the case may be. So can you go ahead and just give us a little insight what it's like working with a private school kid versus a public school kid? Because I feel like there is this stigma that because they're in a private school, they come from money, they're entitled, they're spoiled, maybe they don't work as hard, or maybe because they come from money, they have all the resources and everything to be successful. Can you just maybe dispel some myths that people might have with private school kids and then kind of compare them to, the public school kids that you're currently working with?
Absolutely. So I'll say this, man. We had some dogs over there. I mean, one in particular I can think of right now, his name is Brandon Richard. He went to UIW, played corner there. I think he's a nickel corner. He just declared for the draft this year. And I love that kid because, he came from a family that was military. Mom, was military. Dad was military. Dad worked for the post office. Mom, not exactly sure what she was doing. But, like, when he stepped on the field, like it was no different than any other kid that we saw. So I'll give you one incident. We went to a track meet over at Steele High School, and Coach Adam Harvey watched him run. He knows my boy, Coach Dwayne Dunkley, and he was like, man, who is that kid? Like, he can play here. So from a 5A private school all the way up to a 6A Division I, Division II school, Steele High School, which we all know is a perennial, powerhouse in football.
For sure.
So
okay.
So it's not that big of a difference, in my opinion, because football is football.
Yeah, for sure.
Athletics is athletics.
For sure. So would you say that, having come from the private school, now to public school, would you say it was maybe a culture shock? Because like I said, I feel like there's that like private school, especially private Christian school to now public school. I mean, I know me personally, I played at a private university, and, it was normal to like pray after practice and, not just before games. I know a lot of people before games, they'll get together, do prayer and everything, but we used to pray like almost after every practice. Public school, you do that, you might be in the news, you might be on administrative leave. And so, what's one of the things that you would say, kind of surprised you, or maybe it didn't surprise you when you, first stepped foot on Wagner and you were working here versus, coming from a private school for so long?
I mean, the biggest difference I'll say is definitely the way the coaches handle the kids. Like, there was a big adjustment because I had been out of, out of public school for so long. I went to a public school, but having coached in a private school for the last 7 years, training, in a gym facility for however many years, it was definitely different. I remember the first day I walked in, and we had a workout, and the coach was like, I know they're not talking to him like that at a private school. And I was like, no, it's definitely different. And so the atmosphere is definitely a shift. And I went from one extreme where predominantly, Caucasian white to coming here where it's, minority, Hispanic, Black. So I felt more comfortable here, but it was definitely a culture shift for me spending 7 years there, now coming here saying, okay, yes, you fit in more, but you have to carry yourself differently. I have to build rapport differently than I did at San Antonio Christian School. I built rapport with kids there, but I've also built rapport with kids here in a different way.
Yeah.
Whereas I can pray with these kids here, but I may not be able to do it in a large group setting. Whereas there, I could.
Correct.
And here, hey man, come to my church. Come spend some time in my office.
For sure.
Let me give you something that you may not necessarily have at the time, or you may need.
Yeah. So, now having been at Wagner for the past couple of years, would you say that, I don't want to say it's lacking, but would you say that definitely kind of not makes the job easier, but definitely dealing at the private school where you do have that religious, right, background or emphasis where, that's kind of taken away when you get to the public school. Would you say that that definitely makes a difference, or is it just kind of it's all about the kids and what they believe in and what they buy into? Because let's be real, some kids go to private school because their parents make them. Because I mean, and a lot of private schools aren't cheap. So you're talking about kids going to private school because their parents make them, doesn't mean that the kid necessarily shares those same beliefs. So would you say that, you know, I don't want to say it was a shield, but would you say that that kind of changed the dynamics of the job, where at the private school you had that, you know, religious benefactor, whereas you get to the public school and that's kind of, you know, hey, we kind of keep that to ourselves?
I'll definitely say that what you said in terms of the kids going there, I did experience, you know, a lot of that. You know, some of the kids, they're there because their parents can afford it, or because maybe they didn't fit in so well at the public school. But coming here, I feel like I'm going to make more of an impact because the kids need things. You know, I mean, there's things they need. They need someone handling them or talking to them differently than maybe before. Not saying I'm going to coddle them, because I definitely don't, support that. Because I will say we do a good job here of holding our kids accountable. Sometimes, I tell the coaches, hey, let's back off a little bit. Let's just get to work. You know what I mean? So,
especially them football coaches, man. Sometimes you gotta, hey, coach, I got him. Can we get through a workout without, you know, doing up downs or frog jumps or whatever every other minute? You know, one thing that I really appreciate, you know, you're a family man, and you know your son goes to school. How is that, man? You know, I have a little 3-year-old and a little girl, 4-month-old, and you know, I just think about, hopefully I'm still coaching and still working at the place that I'm at when my kids are able to, you know, get to high school. But what's that dynamic like, being able to see your son in school, whether he's playing sports, doing extracurriculars, or just in class? What's that like, being able to like go to work with your son?
It's fun some days. I will say for him, and he's let me know this, he was like, Dad, it's a lot of pressure. Like, this is what came out of his mouth. I love, being able to come in here, like, you know what? Okay, I know he's working out over there on rack number 5 or rack number 6. He's at that auxiliary. I can go, hey man, how was your day? Or there's some days where I'm a little bit more particular when it comes to things that he does, because I know he ain't do something at the house.
Yeah.
He ain't make up his bed.
Yeah.
He ain't come downstairs on time.
So you throw a little sauce onto it when you see him working out, and you're like, hey, son. And it has really nothing to do with the exercise and the technique. It's more of like, it's personal. It's personal. You made it personal. No, I mean, and I think that's great, man. I think, one thing that coaches have to balance, obviously work-life balance, but then, your family, your kids, and the things that they do. And, you have 2 other kids and they're in sports and things like that. And you got to, balance, hey, am I strength coach? Am I dad when your son's in the weight room, right? Am I giving extra time after school to my job? Or, hey, the day is done. It's time to go home and be dad. So I think that that's something that a lot of coaches could benefit from, is understanding that, like, there's a time to be coach, and then there's a time to be husband and wife, and there's a time to be, Mr. Hard Ass in the weight room, and then there's a time to be, the gentle giant at home with your kids. And so, that's something that, like I said, I hope that I'm coaching, for another 15 years when my son gets to high school and my daughter gets to high school. But, I think that's great, being able to take your son to school.
I'll tell you this, man. The daughter will definitely make you not be a hard ass.
Yeah,
like
that's what I hear.
My daughter's 4, man. She will literally walk up to me. I can be sitting on the couch. She'll turn around, move my legs, put my arms around her, like, you're gonna give me physical touch.
Yeah.
Whereas my son, man, will be like, hey man, pick that up right now.
Yeah, pick it up.
Like, let's go. We got to go train in the garage, or we got to practice basketball in the
for sure. So, one thing about Wagner High School, have a lot of successful programs. Football, girls basketball, track and field. What would you say, coming to the district, coming to the school, has really made it an easier transition, as far as, coming to Judson ISD? They didn't have strength coaches, and a lot of school districts nowadays don't have full-time strength coaches. And so what would you say, stepping foot on campus has been kind of an easy transition for you?
I could definitely say the support that I've gotten from both coordinators, boys and girls side.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I can go ask for almost anything. I've asked, for a jump mat, timing gates, You know, we need stretching ropes. We need PVC pipes to roll out. Like all of these little things.
Yeah.
Just knowing that, hey, we're willing to support you financially, so there's things that kids can receive. But not only that, hey, coach, I need all of our groups working out with you.
Yeah.
And then not only that, hey, if they're not showing up, if coaches aren't showing up, I need you to let us know, because we don't want you to just become a babysitter where coaches are dropping their kids off and they chilling in the office. I mean,
Man.
like I don't get that. Or if a coach does bring their kids in, I know that they're leaving for a legitimate reason. It's
Yeah.
not because they're just, oh man, Jackson got it.
For sure. See, and that's something that I struggle with is like, I'm gonna give me the ball and get out the way. But with our district, they want us to empower the coaches to be in the weight room to assist us. And then we have that expectation that the coaches are going to be in here. And if they're not, like you said, they're not in here for good reason. How is the dynamics as far as getting the coaches involved into the weight room? Because like you said, like, we're not babysitters. It's not a, hey, Coach Jackson, you got him. You need me, I'll be in the office. Or sometimes they don't even tell you. It's just like you look up and the team's waiting outside the weight room and there's no coach to be found. And you're like, well, I'm not going to waste the kids' time waiting on the coach. I'm not going to go looking for him like, hey, we're supposed to start at 3:25. We're rolling at 3:25. So how is like working with the coaches and getting them acclimated to, yeah, we have this guy in place to help make our kids better. But like you said, he's not a babysitter.
Right. So one of the things that we do in terms of our rack setups, all right, so we have 4 on this side on the double half racks, and another 4, right? So we number them 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12. So one of the things I do for the actual racks is I normally assign a coach all 4 racks on this side. So, hey, man, you coaching up these lifts today. Here are the 2 things that I need you to focus on.
Yeah.
So same thing down here. Hey, coach, you got this auxiliaries, right? So it could be vertical jump. It could be push downs. So giving them a specific responsibility. From what I've seen, a lot of them feel more empowered and they can just coach that. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't feel comfortable coaching hang clean, but I can do this.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable coaching deadlift, but I can show a kid how to use the PCDs to do reverse hypers.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's not, in their eyes, dangerous. But,
Yeah.
and then the other thing is just work teaching them. So, hey, coach, when you got some time, let's sit down and talk about the workout. Let's look at it and spend a little bit of time going over it.
No, for sure. And I think one thing that helps too is when you go to your sports practices, right? When the kids see you outside of the weight room, a lot of times they're shocked because they feel like that's like, we don't go anywhere else, right? Like kids feel like all we do is like drink protein shakes and eat meal preps and like hang out in the weight room. So like when you see them in the hallway or you see them in the cafeteria or maybe you're in the auditorium or whatever, they're like, Coach, what are you doing here? And it's like, yo, like, I am able to leave this space. And I get that a lot. They'll be like, Coach Croc, what are you doing down here? And I'm like, yo, I can't go to the front office and say what's up to the secretaries today, and where our secretaries are at, you have to walk through the cafeteria. So just my luck, I'm going during lunchtime when it's, 400 or 500 kids at lunch. And they're like, Coach, what are you doing? Because they're so used to seeing you in the weight room. So I think that, going to the sport coaches practices, especially if it's like in the morning and after school, because then that takes a little extra effort. Because it's easy to go to the gym when boys basketball is practicing. It's a lot different when boys basketball is staying after school and it's 5:30, 6 o'clock. They're still in the gym and you just pop in there while they're shooting, scrimmaging, whatever the case may be, and they see you. And I feel like that goes into creating the buy-in with the athletes, but then also the coaches. Right. And so like speaking to the coaches, you're saying that, you try to meet with the coaches and educate them and you try to give them responsibility. How do you handle the coaches that are kind of resistant towards, all right, coach, I'm going to put you on racks 1 through 4 and you're going to do hang clean. I don't know about hang clean. I'm not comfortable. Okay, we'll put you on 5 through 8 where we're doing front squat. I don't really like squat. All right, we'll put you in the auxiliary. We're doing cable pull downs. I'm normally over here. How do you handle those coaches that you can kind of get the sense that this is the last place that they want to be, but they're here so that, in terms of Marshawn Lynch, like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Like, how do you handle the coaches that are just anti-weight room, right?
So in the past, I've had some like that, and I've asked some to leave. I had a coach leave for 3 weeks. I was like, hey, coach, it's best if you don't come back for 3 weeks.
Bye. No, that's,
like,
yeah.
6:30 a.m. workouts to 7:30.
Yeah.
Since I've been here, I haven't really had that. What I've noticed is a lot of coaches will say, hey, coach, I don't feel comfortable doing this exercise, but can I do that station? And
Yeah.
I'll typically ask them, like, hey, where do you feel most comfortable at? Because I'd rather you use you where you're an asset.
For sure.
But most of them, they typically kind of eliminate themselves, in terms of, hey, coach, I got something to go do. Oh, okay, you got something to do? Or you just don't want to work on this?
Yeah,
like,
you got something to do every Monday and Wednesday for the 8 a.m. workout.
But I really haven't experienced a lot of that here. I mean, every so often, I mean, not saying we perfect over here. I mean, we got our issues, but I mean, the biggest thing that I will say is I've had a lot of support here. I'm a big people person, so I'm big on, hey, let's build a rapport, let's build a relationship, see how we can, work with each other better.
Yeah, for sure. No, and that plays into like the work stress, right? Because the last thing you want to do is like, oh man, I got this, 8 a.m. team lift before school, and I know there's 3 coaches that are supposed to help, but there's 2 of them that would much rather watch paint dry than be in the weight room, which I don't understand. Like, you have an opportunity to get your athletes out of their comfort zone, right? So if you're a basketball player, we're not in the gym, we're in the weight room. So now you're in a different environment. I look at it like, as a sport coach, I can now work with you when you're uncomfortable, right? And you're not in your element, right? Same thing, like if you take softball out to the track, they probably will never step foot on the track if it's optional. But if you make it like, hey, we're doing our sprint work on the track, now all of a sudden you're taking softball outside to the track, they're uncomfortable. I look at it like, hey, softball coaches should be looking at that as an opportunity to say, hey, you're put in a pressure situation, you're put in an uncomfortable situation, no different than if we're down by 3 runs and we got bases are loaded and you're up and there's 2 outs. Like, that's a pressure situation. So I feel like it's great when you have coaches that are at least rolling with the program and everything. And it definitely does suck when you have the ones that they can just see it. Because if you can see it, the kids can see it.
Right.
And that's probably the biggest thing is like, you talk about like body language and things like that. If you're the coach that's in the weight room and you're on your phone the whole entire workout, and we're not talking about taking videos for your TikTok or your Twitter or whatever the case may be. We're talking about you're that coach in the weight room that's in the corner on their phone with their hands in their pocket,
unengaged,
disengaged, or you're the coach that like you don't even make an attempt. Like, you got your blue jeans and your polo shirt on and you didn't think to put on any athletic gear to look the part. Like, I think that goes a long way. And I think that as strength coaches, sometimes you got to get a little uncomfortable and confront those coaches, right? And I think that whether you're a confrontational person or not, you almost have to have those uncomfortable conversations like, hey, coach, like you said, like, if you're not going to be an asset in here, then essentially you're a liability. So like, yeah,
they go to the door.
There go the door right there. Yeah, for sure. So, one thing about Wagner and veterans and Judson, with the 3 full-time strength coaches, we're often bouncing ideas and stuff off of each other and networking and stuff. What would you say, in the past year or so has helped you grow as a strength coach? I know, you spoke at the Alamo Sports Performance Clinic, which I hosted last year, and, we'll be hosting that again this year. And, we've talked before about how you've never done anything like that, but you enjoyed it. What would you say to the coaches out there that maybe are looking at getting out of their comfort zone, like presenting at a conference or a clinic or doing a podcast or writing an article? What would you say for you that it's helped develop or grow since you've done those different type of things?
And I'll say it's just really challenged me to just continue to perfect my craft, and just master it so that when I do have those opportunities, I'm more prepared, I'm more versed. Like I remember you told me when we first talked about it, you was like, man, talk your shit. Yeah. Like, I mean, and
for sure,
just be comfortable. Yeah. I mean, that's what it really boils down to. Just be comfortable. Like, I'm very comfortable in here. Mm-hmm. So when I looked at that, it's like, hey, I can be just as comfortable there. Once I get up there, did the intro, it's like, boom, let's go. Like, we're just talking about what it is I have on those slides. But I'll tell coaches, man, take those opportunities because it's only going to grow you and develop you. Iron sharpens iron, and that's a way to continue sharpening yourself. By being put in those uncomfortable situations. We do it to our athletes every single day.
Man.
And so that's how I really had to check myself. Like, man, you're not comfortable doing this. You're not comfortable speaking.
Yeah.
But you want to tell the kids to be uncomfortable doing squats at 95%.
Yeah.
For maybe a 2 today.
Yeah.
We're normally doing singles, but we're going to do 2. They don't want to do that.
For sure.
They don't want to see that.
See, and I think that's very important to highlight that is that basically, you know, in the words of the Migos, you got to walk it like you talk it, right? So we can't sit up here and tell kids like, hey, we are busting ass today.
Yeah.
So get your mind right, be ready to work. And then we as coaches, like I said, like are disengaged, not focused, or maybe, you know, we're just not bringing the juice. It's like, hey, if I got to be a cheerleader today and that's going to get you over the hump, how is that any different than it's 4th and 1 and we got to get a stop on defense?
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to sit there with my hands in my pocket, right? And everybody else is, you know, doing chants and things like that. So I think that that's definitely something that I advise coaches to do. Like if anybody ever asks you like, hey, would you like to come speak at our clinic or would you like to get on our podcast? Like do it. Cause one, I feel like it's an honor, right? Somebody thinks enough of you to invite you on to their platform, whether it's a podcast or invite you to their clinic or their conference to speak. They feel like you're knowledgeable enough to present some information to people that can help. But then also, like you said, it's getting you out of your comfort zone because, hey, we normally hit 90% for a single, but now we're going 95% and we're doing a double or maybe we're doing a cluster. We're like, hey, you're going to hit that single, then we're going to rack it. You're going to get about 20, 30 seconds and we're going to pick it back up and we're going to hit another single, right? And it's uncomfortable, but it's like, how can we sit up here and ask the kids to be uncomfortable, but we're living in our comfort zone, right? It's being hypocritical, right? And I feel like it's also not growing you because if you're turning down opportunities to speak and do these clinics and things like that, well, then now you're not reaching that person that maybe only you can reach, you know, because all it takes is one. All it takes is one, because I've definitely in the past have presented at a conference or a clinic and somebody's DM me on Twitter and like, hey, Coach Croc, you know, love what you said. Can you elaborate on this? Oh, okay, great. And then now they're taking that information back to their school or their business and they're implementing it all from something I said. And, you know, I might have spoke for 45 minutes, but 2 or 3 minutes that I was talking about really hit home and they were able to take that information. So I definitely advise anybody out there that has an opportunity to speak at a clinic or podcast or whatever to do it. And like you said, like, man, I'm talking my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I do. So nobody can talk about what I do here at Wagner High School better than me, because this is what I do. And I think that when you take that approach, that's when you go and you have a great clinic, a great performance. And that's when people are able to see and hear that it's genuine. Because what you don't want to do is have these manufactured slides that you're basically reading verbatim. And it's like, that doesn't sound like your work. It sounds like somebody else's, and people can see through the BS. So I think that, you know, I appreciate you coming and speaking at the clinic, man. You did a great job. And I hope that, you know, you can continue to speak at these clinics. So another thing I think as coaches, especially as strength coaches, you got to grow your brand. You got to grow yourself. So if people know that, hey, Coach Jackson, he's going to teach our kids how to train properly. He's going to emphasize technique. He's going to get them stronger. He's going to get them faster. Well, if you're known for those things, Lord forbid, you have to find another job. If that's your reputation, well, that's going to make it easier for you to get another opportunity versus if you're like, you know, Major Payne and you're just trying to, you know, kill every day, smoke them, right? It makes it difficult for you to find that next opportunity because that's your reputation. Now, if that coach is looking for that, yes. But I don't know any coach out there that's going to say like, no, I don't want this strength coach that is going to help make my athletes more flexible, more mobile, put them in a position to prevent injuries while making them stronger and faster. I don't want that guy. No. Like, I don't know any coach out there that would ever say anything like that. So I think that's great. Yeah, very ignorant. So last podcast, last episode, we did a scenario. I'm gonna do the same thing with you and kind of see how you would handle it. Okay. You know, I thought about this one again. You being a family man, I feel like this one's gonna resonate with a lot of parents that are also coaches. And so we're just using an example. We're not talking about any program specifically, but gotcha. You know, let's say you have a program that lifts after school, right? So let's just say softball, for example, right? Softball lifts. You know, they go to practice during the period, and then after school they come in and lift. And let's say, you know, they're supposed to come in on Monday and Wednesday or whatever, and it's raining on Monday, so they want to move the lift to Tuesday, right? And for whatever reason, you already have some type of commitment, right? Your son's got baseball practice, your daughter's got dance or something. And the coach is like, hey, Coach Jackson, I know we normally lift on Monday and Wednesday after school, However, because of the weather, because of things that are going on, is it okay if we move our lift to Tuesday? Now, mind you, you've already committed to whatever family activity you have on Tuesday after school. How do you handle that situation?
Man, I bounce. I'm just keeping it 100.
Yeah.
Like, I literally have had this scenario happen probably 5 weeks in a row
Man.
with our softball team.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was.
And I didn't know this either. I just picked softball.
So, and Coach Salmon, I mean, she did a great job just saying, like, hey, Coach, we got it. Leave the workout on the screen, put the cards up, and they rolled.
Yeah.
I mean, and the beauty of them doing it is they have a coach that was a former powerlifting coach.
Okay.
And so she really embraces the weight room.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually happened with baseball. Same thing. Coach, hey, man, leave the cards up. I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm there so much, I sacrifice a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
They know, hey, man, I'm not doing this because I don't want to work with your kids. But
Yeah.
you know, my son play baseball. You know, my son play basketball. You know, my daughter has dance,
Mm-hmm.
and my oldest has bowling.
Yeah.
Like I'm busy every day of the week.
Yeah.
So when my schedule don't work, they can't get offended if I say, hey, Coach, I got to leave at 4:40 today. Your workout's supposed to start at 4:45. Like, it'll be up. I'm gonna speak to everybody.
Yeah, and I gotta go.
Like,
No.
I'll see you the next day.
I think that's huge, man, because I think that there's a lot of coaches out there that prioritize their job over their family. And like, if we're being all the way real, you can get another job. You can't necessarily get another family, right? And so, and especially when you have young kids, they remember those things, right? And the last thing you want is to see that look on your kid's face like, yay, you know, dad's got this lift tomorrow after school, so I'm not gonna be able to make it to your baseball practice or game. And I feel like sometimes we try to, well, it's just a practice. Yeah, but to your kids, it could be the world. It means the world to them, you know. So even though it's a practice and it's not a competition, not a game, you not being there hurts just as much.
Man, my 7-year-old plays baseball and basketball. Right,
Mm-hmm.
just finished basketball, so he is a different kid when I'm at practice.
Yeah,
Than when his mama there. He's a different kid at home
yeah,
when I'm there than when it's just his mom.
yeah,
So if I'm not present, I'm failing him. Like,
Yeah.
I coach him in everything.
Mhm.
Unless he's playing on a select team, which he does with baseball.
yeah,
I'm coaching him. When he's playing rec baseball, I'm coaching him. Like, I'm going to be present. And they know, like, I'm coaching my kids. Even the bowling. I am one of the bowling coaches.
yeah,
I'm going to be present so that I can be an influence. And it's not because I'm arrogant. It's just because I know what I'm doing. I have a skill set to build, you know, relationships, and I can provide those kids things. Because being a coach, you know, in the school,
yeah.
and we have kids that are athletes that also bowls, I can talk to them differently than the coach that doesn't step foot on this campus.
Yeah.
They just do it on the bowling alley.
No, for sure.
You know? So.
And that's one thing I will tell all coaches, man, like never sacrifice your family and family time for your job, because, you know, you can get fired on Monday. Your job will be posted on Tuesday. They're interviewing on Wednesday and they got somebody new on Thursday and they bringing them in on Friday. Like, they will replace you in a heartbeat.
We're all replaceable.
Yeah. They can't replace dad. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately.
My wife always tells me this. She'll remind me, hey, you're giving the job everything and you're giving us the leftovers.
Ooh, that's a bar right there.
Oh, man, it's like, oh man, she just hit me in my gut.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yeah,
know, like,
no, that's real though.
I mean, I can't get upset because I mean, she gave it to me raw. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? She's right.
But I think that people need to hear that, because there's a lot of coaches that, you know, just because you're working overtime doesn't mean you're working. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you're spending 14, 15 hours at work doesn't mean that work has been productive. It just means you spent
quality.
Yeah, you just spent 14, 15 hours at work. And then if you have a wife and you have kids, or even if you just have family, you got parents and grandparents and you're never able to see them because you're just so focused on the job, and it has to be a grind, but it doesn't have to be. That's, like I said, that's something that I feel like coaches should never do, but it happens all the time, right? I mean, as coaches, we see it all the time. Coaches, they get divorced a lot because
Married to the job.
Married to the job, right? Like you said, I give my job everything and I give my family the leftovers. Well, if you have that significant other that's not satisfied with the leftovers, you're going to be, you know, hire an attorney. You know what I'm saying?
And let me know. She
Yeah.
gonna tell me multiple times before we ever get there.
Yeah, and that's good. You got a good one, man. So I'll give you a different scenario. Okay, you have a team that, you know, they're hit or miss, right? If it's great weather outside, they're in the weight room, they're grinding, right? If it's bad weather outside, coach, today we're going to do team building, or, we're going to do 2 words, or we're going to, go and do some agility drills instead of the weight room. How do you handle a coach that doesn't seem to be all in the weight room and their actions reflect it? Whether it's, like I said, they're constantly canceling. They're coming from the field to the weight room, but they're always 10 minutes late. So that 25-minute workout turns into 15. How do you handle those coaches that we consider aren't all in?
Man, the ones that cancel and are not communicating, I'm gonna keep it 100. I stopped showing up for one of them. And yeah,
As a petty person, I feel that.
Yeah, it was petty, but it was a situation where it was like they didn't show up. Okay, I'm sitting there waiting. I can get some work done at the computer.
Yeah, for sure.
But okay, it happened again. All right, let me see what's up.
Yeah.
So it happened again. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start going to my office.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah.
If this individual or that coach decides that they want to bring their kids back to the weight room, they will let me know.
For sure.
And I think it, of course, something was said, but what do you want me to do? I mean,
yeah.
My time is valuable, and I want you to respect that time. Just like if I need to be done at a certain time so you can do 30 more minutes of practice,
yeah,
I'm going to make sure I cut that time 5 minutes less so I don't impede on your time. So I expect the same respect. But
yeah.
I've been a little bit petty. I mean, and that's,
man,
I'm 40 now. I'm working on that.
Yeah.
But I'm still human.
I feel like as strength coaches too, we are a little bit petty just by nature. I know I'm definitely can be petty. I think part of the reason is it makes you feel good because it's like, you're slighting me, so I'm gonna slight you back, but I'm gonna one up you. So like you said, like, okay, I'm waiting for you. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, so I'm waiting, right? But after a couple of times, you realize like, okay, this person doesn't respect my time. Bet. I'm going to turn the lights off in the weight room. I'm going to go sit in the office. And if you need me, you got my number. There's a male coach on your staff. They can come to the locker room. They can come to my office and come get me. Hey, coach, where you at? But then, like you said, you realize it's not a priority to them. So I'm not going to make it a priority to myself. Right. And you deal with it in that manner. And I don't advise people to go that route to be petty. However, I look at it like this. I'm going to sit up here and be pissed off because I'm waiting on a team to show up and there's no communication. Or I'm going to charge it to the game and I'm going to go handle my business somewhere else. And if you decide to show up, I'm essentially matching energies, right? Like you showed up late. Because technically speaking, like, hey, if you're supposed to come lift at 4, coach, where are you at? We showed up to the weight room. Well, I sat in the weight room till 4:10. And then I went to my office at 4:12, which means you showed up 12 minutes late. So don't come huffing and puffing at me because you came to show up to work out and you couldn't find me when technically speaking, you showed up 12 minutes late. And if we being all the way real, I don't know any coaches that don't have cell phones. I don't know any coaches that go to practice without their cell phones. Maybe football, but even then, if there's 12 football coaches out there, I guarantee you 4 of them got a phone. Yeah, somebody got a phone. Somebody
got the music going. Like,
yeah, so let's not play the like, oh, I didn't know where you're at. So like, I guess he just said screw us and he didn't want to work with us. And it's like, well, I mean, yeah, but like, no, right? Like, I wish you would have showed up on time and I would have trained your kids, but you didn't. So now you got to face the wrath. You got to face the pettiness of me not being present.
I sat over there for 2 weeks.
Ooh,
there was 4 workouts for that group.
Yeah,
and then it
adds up too. That's the thing too. People think that like the strength coaches you only get maybe twice a week for 30 minutes. So you're talking about I get your kids for an hour. You get your kids the other 3 days. At Judson ISD, we have a block schedule. So we have 5 periods. First and last period are 75 minutes. The other 3 periods are 90 minutes. So you're talking about you got 60 minutes to lift weights and run or lift weights, do skills and weights and skills. Like you have a lot of time. We're not like traditional schools where it's 7 periods, 55 minutes. So you really only got like 30 minutes. So you do one or the other and not both. So I think sometimes coaches try to take advantage of that. Like, hey, we're going to be on the court. Then we're coming into the weight room and you're like, cool, 12:35, see you then. And then 12:35 turns to 12:40, 12:40 turns to 12:45, 12:45 turns to 1. And now all of a sudden you get hit with the, oh, my bad, coach, practice ran a little bit long. And it's like, man, like I've grown a lot because I used to be that coach.
Ready to go in.
I'm gonna come find you because to me, I'm a firm believer people make time for what they want to make time for. And ain't nobody showing up late to their own practices, right? A basketball coach, right? I'll use our schedule, for example. If third period, which is a 90-minute period, starts at 11:35,
Right.
a basketball coach isn't going to be fumbling around until 12 o'clock and then decide to get going. That basketball coach, especially our basketball coach, my man ready to go at 12:30, or sorry, 11:30, let alone, 5 minutes before the bell even starts. So, it's one of those deals where it's like, you don't want to be petty and you don't want to slight the coach, but it's like, if this was important to you, you would be here,
Right.
and you wouldn't show up 15, 20. You wouldn't forget that you had practice.
No.
I don't think in the history of
So how you
athletics,
forget this?
I don't think in the history of athletics, a sport coach has ever been like, dang it, we got practice today. Hey guys, let's go to the court so we can go. Like, that's never happened. But with the weight room, dang it, I forgot we were in the weight room today.
Convenient amnesia, man.
Yeah. What days are we supposed to be in here today? Friday. What's today? Friday? Oh, dang, coach, that's my fault. And so growth, like you said, I definitely used to be the coach that would go and pull up like, okay, you're supposed to come in and lift at this time and you don't show up and lift. Bet. Where are you at? I'm going to come see you and make you, because I think that's part of the problem, right? Is some people, well, a lot of people don't like confrontation, but they feel like it's confrontational to have a one-on-one conversation. So they want to do everything via text or email. Don't shoot me my bad, coach. Sorry, I forgot. I'm going to leave you on red, and then I'm going to come see you, and then I'm going to be petty. Hey, coach, you get my message? Nah, what's up? I was coming to see you. What happened? You forgot that y'all had lived? Oh, yeah, that's my bad. Oh, okay. Well, just make sure, like, if you're not going to show up, you let me know so that way you don't waste my time. And I've learned over the years, apparently, when you tell people not to waste your time, it's kind of like passive aggressive, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
Because you're not respecting my time.
You're not respecting my time. So don't hit me with I don't want to waste your time. Well, that's what you're doing, because guess what? When we have limited space, limited time, and your team is taking up that space and time, you don't need to know what other options I have. All you need to know is this time is reserved for you and it's utilized for you. And if you don't want to use it, my services can be better served somewhere else.
No doubt.
I could go out there and, hey, I could go warm up a team I can go warm up girls track instead of waiting on you to show up 10, 12, 15 minutes
In
late.
middle school.
I could be at the middle school, and I think that in our position as strength coaches, people don't look at the big picture. They just think that, like, we just work in the weight room, we just lift weights and stuff. But it's like, there's more to what we do than that. But also, we value our time because we know, like, we're trying to get you stronger 1 hour a week.
Man, when you put it that way, boy.
I have
It hit different.
I have 1 hour in the 7 days a week. I have 1 hour to try and improve your team's strength, power, flexibility, mobility, try to prevent. I have 1 hour.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And when you break it down like that, then it's kind of like, okay, so now that 1 hour and you showed up 10 minutes late becomes 50 minutes, right? And then the day that you canceled becomes 20 minutes. So now all of a sudden you're looking at me trying to get good quality training, but you're showing up later. You're not showing up at all. And it's like, hey, girls is hurt, boys is hurt. Girls and boys ain't training consistently. They're training, but they ain't training consistently. Like I said, ain't nobody ever forgot about practice.
No.
So,
But they want to point the blame to, oh, well, we getting hurt.
mhm.
You're getting hurt, but
Yeah.
your team is showing up for 20 minutes out of the 60 that they're scheduled. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Even though we both can agree that 60 minutes is not a lot of time.
It is not. And I think that's what makes, shout out to all the strength coaches out there that are, they only get their teams for 20, 25 minutes twice a week, because we got to kind of be miracle workers. Like, I remember being in college, I told the kids, we would squat for 15, 20 minutes. And then we would go into our block A, block B. We would line up and, hey, we got a warm-up set of 5, a warm-up set of 3, and then we got 5 sets of 4 at 75%. We would spend 18 to 20 minutes just squatting. And then we would go into our secondary movement and our auxiliary exercises and all those other things. So the high school level, it's not perfect, but it's like, yeah, we have to get our heavy squat, our dynamic effort on our power clean, our posterior chain, and everything else that I want to fit in 25 minutes. Not to mention, if your team's coming from the field or the court, well, that's transition time. So now you're asking the coach, hey, they're supposed to be in here at 12:35, which means you got to finish whatever you're doing by 12:30, 12:32 so they can get here.
Right. Because that transition time.
That transition time. And so, I feel all of that, man. I like I said, I don't advise being petty, but it definitely does feel better when you are petty because you're not frustrated and you're not beating yourself in the head, worried about somebody that's not worried about you.
Man, what you just said, I kind of spin it like this. You have to teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd have learned that at an early age.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man, you got to respect my time.
Yeah.
I need you to communicate.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I didn't like the way you said that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I could be maybe being in my feelings a little bit, but
Yeah.
I ain't got to let you handle me like that.
Yeah.
I'm a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Like,
And I think that, and
we
I
ain't
think,
going to do that.
I think that too, especially as coaches, the coaching dynamic is so different. Like if you get a group of football coaches together, they're completely different. They're wired differently than if you get volleyball coaches together, right? And part of it is just like, I mean, as football coaches, we're outside. Mm-hmm. You know, and fall camp is in August and it's 110 out here. So we're wired differently. Our brains are fried, right? Volleyball, we indoors, you know, AC, ventilation, all that good stuff. So I think that's a bar right there. Like you got to teach people sometimes how to treat you. I shouldn't have to teach you like respect and stuff. But again, we're talking about the weight room and it cutting into basketball practice or basketball skills or softball skills or, you know, track running mechanic. We're talking about cutting into that to give to you. I got to let you know that like, hey man, if you're not going to be here, I need to know. Right. That might work. You can show up to lunch late. You don't have to let nobody know like, hey, you know, the fourth lunch begins at 1:00. Well, we have the athletic period that backs up to lunch. So we're getting done with athletics and we're showing up to lunch at 1:05 or 1:10. We don't have to let them know. Yeah. Right. And ideally,
you got that 30-minute time frame.
Yeah. And if we're being all the way real, they show up 5-10 minutes after the lunch bell has started. They're probably going to be able to walk right into the line and get their food. They're not going to have to wait.
The crowd.
So when we're really talking about it, nobody's really pressed about like, oh, we got to, you know, lunch is at 1:00. Make sure you let the admin know that, you know, they're coming late from athletics. It's just kind of like, hey, you know, we had work to do. It took us longer than we needed. You know, y'all wasn't trying to listen or pay attention. So cool. Now you showing up at lunch at 1:07, right? Versus the weight room. Hey, we supposed to be here at 12:30. What we were doing ran a little bit late. Now it's 12:40. Like, oh well, but it's like it's not oh well.
It's not that easy.
It's not oh well.
Because if the roles were reversed, oh man, we have some problems.
Hey,
I mean, imagine if, you know, I coach, right? Coach Theron, great dude, very, very flexible. I'm very flexible, but if I infringed upon his time, which I don't, and he doesn't infringe upon my time. Like I get actually 63 minutes with football right now. So they get 21 minutes here, 21 minutes there, 21 minutes at their next station. But you know, imagine if I flipped and said, "Hey, coach, we're supposed to be outside, right? You asked me to be outside at 12 o'clock, but all of a sudden I pushed it back to 12:15.
Yeah,
he gonna let me know.
Yeah. Quick.
You know, he gonna let me know.
Yeah.
So it's that mutual respect with each other. We have that mutual respect. I just use them as an example because they're so punctual. Everything is planned out. Yeah. And we need more coaches to kind of adopt that same philosophy. Like, hey, this is the schedule. We need to be here at this time. We need to start at this time. We need to wrap up at this time. Dismiss at this time. Yeah. Like yeah, it may be a little militant, but you know what? It works. For sure. It works. You're efficient, and the more efficient you are, and you keep doing this, keeping that same system in place, it's just going to transfer to other things. Yeah. All of a sudden now, a 30-minute workout may be cut down to 20 minutes because now you're more efficient. Yeah. And you can add in more things. Well, not only that, but I mean, like, there's a reason why there's school bells in school, like to let you know, hey, this is when the period starts, or sorry, when, you know, the period ends, and then this is the warning bell, and then this is when the, you know, the starting bell. Like, there's a reason for that because kids need that. But if we being all the way real, a lot of coaches need it, right? Because a lot of coaches, you know, like we'll use football, for example. Typically, they've got it broken down. We have 20 periods. Right. Period 1 and 2 is this. 3 and 4 is that. You know, 5 through 8 is this. Like, they have it broken down. But then you look at some other sports, like maybe track, right? It's not as broken down to like, hey, the first 10 minutes we're doing this, and then the next 15 is that. It's kind of like, hey, these are the drills and things we want to work. This is what we want to do. And so, like you said,
it's not necessarily
A little more fluid, I guess.
Yeah, more fluid, and it's okay to be a little militant because, first of all, kids need structure, but coaches need structure. And if you're like me, like your OCD and your anxiety kicks in when this is a 23-minute workout. So we start at 12, we're done at 12:23. You give me 2 minutes to explain. That's 12:25. Coach, I will have them done no later than 12:26. So he is expecting them at 12:26.
Right.
But then all of a sudden some things go left and all of a sudden it's 12:36. Well, now they got an attitude, they got a problem, and rightfully so, because like you said, like we as strength coaches, let us infringe on your practice time. Let you, hey coach, I'm gonna give you the girls, I'm gonna give you the guys. They're gonna lift and then they're gonna come to practice. Let that lift run a little too late, right? They gonna be hot.
What happened?
Yeah, where they at?
What y'all doing?
Right? Technically speaking, in our district, they'd already be in the weight room, right? So if anything, they're gonna be looking at you like, hey coach, like how many more sets they got, right? But let's say they go out to the gym or to the field to go set it up and you're finishing up the workout and they out there waiting on them and they waiting on them and all of a sudden it's like, man, you just brought my kids to me 8 minutes late.
Yeah.
You know, we talking about football, that's almost 2 periods.
That's a period and a half, right?
So now 2 periods just got eliminated from my script. So I think that as coaches and I think as strength coaches, we kind of have to be militant. We got to have to be dialed in and have everything down to, minutes because we know we only have so much time to work with them. And then we know that there's other things they got to get to.
So do you still use the clock? Because I use the clock every day.
Yeah. So I yes and no.
Because of rack coach?
Rack coach, yes. But then also, let's say I have like wrestling coming in. Hey, y'all got 20 minutes. You need to get at least 4 sets in. I'll put the 20-minute timer on. I'll probably make it like 22 so they can get everything set up. Then I'll start it because what we try to do is like, our first period starts at 8:45. Wrestling comes in about 9:10. So I get about 20, 25 minutes with them. So that way they can shower, go to get breakfast before the 10 o'clock bell rings. So you're talking about they come in the weight room 9:15 typically. 20 minutes puts them at 9:35. Okay. But we got to get set up and everything. So I'll put 22 minutes on the clock. Hey, I'll start the clock at 22 minutes. I'll explain what we have. And then, hey, you got the remaining time. Try to get at least 4 sets in. Okay. I can't do that with everybody. But with wrestling, they're a little more intrinsically motivated simply because like, okay, I know I need to get stronger and I know I need to work on technique. I'm working on technique at wrestling practice. I'm gonna work on my strength in the weight room. So they're a little bit more motivated. Other programs, if I gave them that leeway, I would look up and they would be gone. You know what I'm saying? They would try to slide out or you'd be like, man, we got 5 exercises, 7 or 8 exercises up there and you only seem to be doing bent over row. Like, great. I want you to develop that big, strong back. But like, we also got, single leg barbell RDLs, or we also got cleans, or we also have, our shin boxes for our hip mobility. And it's like, you're only doing personally, the meat and potatoes is like our mobility, and then the lifts is like your sides. But it's like, man, you over here doing the auxiliaries, the face pulls. You're killing the face pulls, right?
Because it's comfortable.
It's comfortable. You're killing the face pulls and you're killing the clean pulls. But like you ain't squatting. You ain't doing your shin boxes. You're not doing your T-spine mobility. So it's like you really ducking the work. So yeah, I use rack coach for that timer. Okay. But yeah, I do occasionally will say like, okay, we're going to get block A in. That might take us about 15 minutes. And then block B, I might say, hey, I'm just going to put 10 minutes on the clock. You get as much work done as you can. Okay. It also gives me an opportunity to watch to see how kids work, because I might have some kids that are just going to stay on clean. And it's like, okay, I can't be mad. Yeah, I can't be mad if a kid chose to do, barbell RDL, T-spine rotations, med ball slams and shin boxes and kind of didn't get to the dumbbell row and the landmine press as much. It's like, okay, you hit a lot of RDLs, posterior chain. You got a lot of low back mobility, because that's one of the things that the kids complain about. My back hurt, right? My back is tight. So is mine. And I tell them it's only going to get worse when you get older. Your shin boxes for your hip mobility, because a lot of these kids can't squat and a lot of them sit like this and on their phone. So it's like, let's open up those hips. And then, your med ball slams, working on triple extension and just, getting up some of that pent up frustration frustration just slamming stuff. So it's like, you know what, I can rock with that, and I can kind of see the kids and see that, like, okay, this kid is serious about training, like I said, versus the one that's, you know, they always getting water and face pulls, water and face pulls, water and pigeon stretch, chopping it up with their friends and water. And then pigeons, you know what I'm saying? Like those kids, I'm like, okay, you're not here to work. So
do y'all keep the water in the weight room? Because I took the water out. Like it used to be in that corner. It drove me crazy. One day in the summer, I came back from outside. I was outside. We probably had a puddle about 4 feet wide.
yeah,
And I was like, oh no, like this ain't gonna cut it. Like the water's outside.
Yeah.
From here on out. And so now the kids have to run outside.
Yeah.
But in terms of our time, what I do is I do everything in 3-minute segments. So because we have the 3 auxiliaries. Right?
Yeah.
So if they have 9 minutes at the rack, they're going to get 3 minutes at this auxiliary, 3 minutes in the hallway, 3 minutes at PCD. So then that's our 18-minute workout.
Yeah.
And I factor in whatever, you know, warm up and exclamation I got to do. So, or they may get 21 minutes at the rack.
Yeah.
They'll get 7, 7, 7. So it really just depends on what it calls for. I've set it up on Rack Coach like that.
Yeah.
It's just some of my groups work better with the PowerPoint.
For sure.
You know?
As far as the water goes, so we don't have water fountains in the weight room, right? Design flaw in my opinion, but it is what it is. We have water fountains down the hallway. The problem with that is some kids, when they go to get water, they get lost. I did the math, buddy.
Yeah.
It don't take but about 15 seconds to get to the end of the hallway, get water. Takes another 15 seconds to get back. So we talking about 60 seconds. Why were you gone for 3.5 minutes? So chilling, right? So I thought about bringing like the coolers and stuff in there, but then like for that reason, if somebody knocks it over or spills it, I'm going to lose my mind, because it's always going to be like, dang, I spilled that. And then like, that's going to be it. You'll get some kids like, coach, can I get a towel? But then that's going to set me off too. Like, what you need a towel for? They're going to point. And like you said, you're going to have that 4 foot wide puddle of water. And I'm going to be like, yeah, we got to get rid of it. But one thing I do is I never deny a kid water.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like the rule is like, if you leave this room without saying anything to me, I'm going to assume the worst and I'm going to come running after you because I'm going to think it's an emergency.
Okay.
Right. So I kind of like give them a little shock factor as far as like, once we're in here, we're in.
Yeah,
and then
you
if
ain't leaving.
You're not leaving. Right. So if kids like, hey, Coach Croc, can I get water? Like, yes. Because the last thing I need, and I've actually had this happen, had a girl, team was coming in the morning, they were working out, didn't eat. She just looked sluggish, so I'm kind of watching her. You okay? You okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. And she's like, can I go to the trainer? I'm like, yeah. And I go to get somebody to go with her, and she's walking through the door, and I look up and I don't see her, and she's laid out.
Oh.
Because she didn't eat anything, and she was
Passed
lifting.
out.
She done passed out. And so it's like, I'll never deny a kid water.
Okay.
Bathrooms. With the ladies, I typically go ahead, do whatever, you know. With the guys, it depends, because, you know, you get them kids like, dang, you always seem to use the bathroom during workouts.
Yeah.
Nah.
Trying to get that extra rest.
Yeah. And so I try not to deny them bathroom opportunities. But if we're being real, our policy, you can't use the bathroom 10 minutes after the bell rings and 10 minutes before.
That's true.
So if we start at 3:25, or, you know, bell rings at 3:15, we're in the weight room at 3:25 doing our warm up, and you're over here like, hey, can I go to the bathroom? Well, you had 10 minutes to get down here to class, get dressed, and then get to where you need to get to. What was you doing, right? In the hallways, right? And so I'll never deny a kid access to that, but I'm definitely mindful, and we all know those kids that's gonna try to cut out of some work, right? Like I said, you always got to use the bathroom when we lifting. Go figure. It's convenient, right? And then as far as water, I actually allow my kids to bring water. I got a clear liquid policy, right? Because it always seems like they don't never spill the water. It's always the Gatorade.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? They don't never spill their water, man. And so,
hey, I don't want nothing in here but water. I don't want no backpacks.
Yeah,
like
no.
I said, we don't want no Crocs, no slides.
Hey, I'm the only Croc in the weight room. That's what I tell my kids all the time, man.
But we keep the water right out here.
Yeah,
so our training room is right next to the weight room.
Yeah, that's convenient too.
They keep the a water cooler outside, so they have the jug, so they know, hey, you go out that door, knock when you come back. Or I may already be standing there, have someone standing there
for sure.
So you can come back in.
Yeah.
So I love that, but yeah, bringing it back in ain't gonna happen.
Nah, we make water bottles get pressed up against the wall because I've had kids like, so you just gonna put your water bottle in the middle of the weight room floor?
Yeah.
And it'd be like them cheap water bottles too, not like the the jugs or whatever. So it's like, okay, that's just an accident waiting to happen. And every now and then I'll get kids that spill water, but I'm like, that's why we got clear liquid policy, because if that was Gatorade, now it's sticky.
Yep.
And I clean my weight room, so it's like now I got to come mop. And the kids cleaning it ain't gonna be how you need to clean it.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So
the girls kill me with these Stanley cups, man.
Yes.
Because they always want the straw in it, got ice in it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least once a week, somebody gonna spill something by one of these racks.
Yeah.
Which is, most groups don't bring their own water.
Mhm.
They typically drink from the jug outside, or even if they bring their own container,
Yeah.
they'll still go there. So
Gotcha.
I try to keep it in the area, man, because I ain't trying to have that one less thing to worry about.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, do you have any questions for me? I mean, I know a lot of hosts, they typically do all the question asking, but do you got any questions for me or anything? Because, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think we got a lot of great stuff. So, I mean, if you don't have anything for me.
No, I feel good, man. It was just a conversation, man. I felt like, man, and I enjoyed it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Look forward to doing this again. And hopefully I was well spoke, because that's something I don't speak in front of people.
Nah, for sure. It's a process, man. Well, I want to thank Coach Howard Jackson. Again, season 1, episode 2 of The Croc Show. Thank y'all for listening, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for episode 3.